And now the current hit by the New York folk singer-songwriter who forced the record companies to discover him by renting a well-known nightclub in Greenwich Village and booking himself in it. He'd been singing on and off for 15 years, but still hadn't made the grade with any record companies or major nightclubs. So here's what he did. Last summer, he rented the Village Gate nightclub for the entire season and presented himself as part of the entertainment. Each night at the front door, the wives and girlfriends of the performers would be selling tickets and seating the customers. And inside, this artist, backed by a group of musicians, would lead off the show, performing his own material. And his brothers, who had a rock and roll band and were already signed to a label, would close the show as the main act. Well, in the early weeks, they didn't draw more than 5 or 10 paying customers a night. But by the end of summer, they were playing to packed houses, and 8 record companies were jockeying for position to sign up the folk singer who opened the show. The one that got him, by the way, was Elektra Records. At number 26 this week, here's the artist who, after 15 years of obscurity, saw what he had to do to get discovered and did it. Harry Chapin.
It was raining hard in Frisco. I needed one more fare to make my night.
Number 26 in the USA this week, Harry Chapin and Taxi. And the countdown rolls on.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
You know, most of the long-distance dedications are for songs that help the writer say something. Here's a request for a song that said something to the writer. It's from a man in Cookeville, Tennessee. Here's what he says. Dear Casey, I was deeply saddened when I learned of the tragic death of Harry Chapin. It was one of his songs that changed my life. In September of 1974, my wife and I moved 600 miles with our 6-week-old baby girl so that I might further my education. For the next couple of months, I would leave early in the morning to attend classes, then go straight to work, returning home late at night. I seldom saw my child awake. One morning, my early classes were canceled, and I finally got time to spend with my family. When my daughter awakened, I tried to pick her up, and she cried. My child didn't know me. That afternoon on my way to work, I was listening to the radio and heard the song, The Cat's in the Cradle. That song really hit home, and I started making every effort to spend as much time as I possibly could with my family. My son was born during my final year of college, and budgeting my time wisely, I managed to put together my best academic year without compromising time with my family. Now that I have a career and a home, hardly a day passes by that I don't spend some time one-on-one with my 2 beautiful children. We often sing together that song that changed my life. So, in memory of Harry, could you please play The Cat's in the Cradle for Jennifer and Jeremy from their daddy. Sincerely, Alan. Okay, Alan, here's your long-distance dedication.
My child arrived.
From 1974, Cats in the Cradle by the late Harry Chapin. A long-distance dedication from Alan in Tennessee to his children, Jennifer and Jeremy.
The hits run coast to coast.
We're up to the hit song created for one purpose, to help abolish hunger in the world. 45 famous artists pooled their talents as USA for Africa to start the ball rolling. But that ball may have been given a push years before. The chief organizer of USA for Africa is artist, manager, and television producer Ken Cragen. Ken says, quote, "This all started with a phone call from Harry Belafonte. He knew I had represented Harry Chapin." End of quote. Harry Belafonte says that many years ago, Harry Chapin was, quote, trying to find out if in his own lifetime there wasn't a possibility to mobilize the world and eliminate world hunger. End of quote. Harry Chapin was the writer and singer of such hits as Taxi and Cats in the Cradle. Back in the early 70s, Harry began donating the majority of his concert earnings to causes that helped the disadvantaged. Then Harry launched a personal campaign in Washington, D.C. to establish a presidential commission to figure out a way to end world hunger. He spent 4 months buttonholing and talking individually to 150 senators and representatives. Finally, the Congress passed the resolution, and Harry Chapin was given the honor of presenting the documents to President Jimmy Carter for his signature. Why did Harry Chapin get so involved in the fight against hunger instead of devoting all of his time to his career? He said, I want to be able to look at my kids and say, at least I tried. Harry Chapin died in a car accident 4 years ago, but his spirit lives every time one of us lifts a hand to help, and every time we hear the song, We Are the World. For the fourth consecutive week at number 1, here is We Are the World by USA for Africa. The number 1 song in the USA for the fourth consecutive week. Written by Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie, produced by Quincy Jones, and sung by the one-time ensemble of 45 U.S. recording stars. We Are the World.
Casey's Coast to Coast.